Well, it's 5:20 in the morning on on August August 6th, and hey, this is, I thought I was going to be done, with journal entries. I kind of closed the book on it, made my own thinking, and then I found that, and then I come across that cassette tape, and it just so happened that the music box that I got, the CD box to play CDs. I had to get it online. They didn't sell them in Walmart no more, and so I bought one online, and for my mom, really. And but anyway, so then I come across this tape, and this music box, has a cassette tape player, which I have old cassette tapes because back in the day, that's what we tape recorded stuff on cassette tapes. They weren't even look. I can remember when there weren't even any CDs. It was I can remember before. I can remember when in the cars, they all had 8-track tape players, and you could push a button for whatever track you wanted to play. Aerosmith. I remember my brother, because it's kind of a big deal when we went to school. The ride in the morning to school, and if you can, it makes you feel good. Like if you go with your older brother or something like that, and he's got 8-track tape, or like what used to be, like this guy Jimbo, sometimes he'd pick us up for school, and he had a good 8-track deck in his car, and it was fun back in the day. I remember Aerosmith, we played a lot then. But anyway, I could recall a lot of good memories. I lived with my dad for a while, and that's where Jimbo was, and I remember he'd come pick all us up for school in the morning. He'd make us run like a bus, and I don't know, pick a few of us up, and his car, man, when you stepped on it, I'm talking about 8-cylinder, a good strong 350 motor. I think it was I had a car that was like, my Oldsmobile Omega was like it, but I think it wasn't an Omega that he had. That Omega I had, if you hit the gas, put the pedal to the floor, and that thing can take off like a rocket. But I remember, he rebuilt his car, man. When you step out on the gas in his car, you'd feel it. You'd go back in your seat, man. You'd feel yourself pull back. And we used to take it on the lake when the lake froze over and stuff, and do donuts and everything. Anyway, it was just fun. But anyway, I really need to stick to the point because I get lost in some of that stuff. But I thought I was done, with doing a journal. But I feel this is noteworthy, and I actually got on 2 shirts right now. I got on my, I got this from the Kennedy back during the Gulf War. I was in Operation Desert Storm and Desert Shield, and but I got it on because it's kind of cold. Well, I woke up like 3 times before I actually got up and felt like that this is actually noteworthy of a noteworthy thought that I should document, and so that's why I wanted to put the date and everything. But since I concluded my fast, all right, I still, I tell you, I've actually still been kind of fasting. Kind of. I mean, I'm not abstaining from eating, but like yesterday, all I ate was some cheese and my dehydrated peppers from my garden, because I crunch on those, and they're hot, man. Those are habaneros, but they're dehydrated. But when you can crunch them up like potato chips in your mouth, but if you don't have anything else in your mouth, they're gonna burn you up, man. And that, well, because the stuff comes out slowly, but it still comes out, the heat, you know. And so I eat cheese like with that, and I crunch it up together. And in my mind, I'm thinking, man, this is like really healthy, you know. These peppers from my garden and cheese. But I, you know, I was a little bit hungry, and I had to go get my dogs some more chicken, you know. And I went to Walmart, and I got a bag of broccoli, you know, just it's already cut up broccoli, not the whole thing, you know, but cut up so you don't have the big long stem, but you got the heads and little stems. and I had some sour cream, and when I seen that, I thought, you know, no, man, I heard broccoli's like really good for you, like it's a cure for cancer or something like that. I read that a long time ago. Not that I have cancer or I'm worried about having cancer, because I'm actually in pretty good health. But the thing is, hey, look, I mean, I still want to, you know, even get I haven't actually started my Tai Chi yet, but I've been doing a lot of work. Like I pulled a lot of leaves, and my hands, I noticed, I can notice like right now when I squeeze my hands, I mean, I can feel the muscles have been worked from me grabbing weeds and pulling them out of the ground. And I cleaned up my whole garden. Like, I pulled them all out. And I did a lot of work, you know. Exercised my body. And my body is pretty sore right now. But, you know, as I was waking up, okay, like I woke up like 3 times and kind of went back to sleep. And each time, the dream was like really kind of, I don't know if it's telling or what, okay, but it's like every time I woke up, okay, I realized I'm waking up in a different dimension. Okay, like, you know, the last time I woke up, you know, I pulled the cover over me and tried to go back to sleep because, you know, it is cold, and this is kind of a really great feeling because I don't use air conditioners and I suffer from the heat, man. It takes a lot out of you. That's why I worked, and when I did all the weed pulling, I did that overnight when it was cool. You know, because I have some I have a light over my garden, you know? And anyway, I did a lot of work, but the thing is, each time I woke up, I was realizing I was waking up in a different, like a dimension, and I was like identifying it, like in my mind in this series, like I had a series of dreams. You know, Bob Dylan, he even wrote I don't know how many songs or if it was just one song, but I think it was on his bootleg collection, you know, which stuff that he just recorded, you know, like, I don't know, but he never made an album out of it. I don't really know how they came into existence, but you know, they were published, and he's got in there a series, something called A Series of Dreams. And well, I was having a series of dreams, okay, and each time I was waking up, it was like I was waking up like in a higher dimension. Like I started like out in the second dimension. You know, I woke up in the second dimension, and then I woke up another time. I was in the third dimension. Okay, and when I think about dimensions, like, you know, I think about it like in terms of a drawing. You know, you can draw in 2 dimensions, and that would just be like, you know, like a house with like this way, and then a roof like that, okay? And that's all you see. That's two-dimensional drawing. Three-dimensional drawing is what they teach you when you're in school, you know. At least, it taught me. You take a class in drawing, which I did. And I learned how to draw in 3 dimensions. So it's not just the roof, and then like that. It's not just like that. Okay, then you have lines coming out like that, and then working it back down like that, and then on the bottom, and then a bottom cross, and then you can see the house in 3 dimensions. Okay, and that's the 3rd dimension, in my thinking. And they talk like on stuff like I listen to, these days. They talk about like other dimensions, and we understand things now according to different dimensions, and and this is stuff in science. All right, and even our vision and everything is like in different dimensions. So anyway, but consciousness is also like in dimensions. It's pretty kind of interesting stuff. But now I'm itching because the mosquitoes are coming out, even though it's cold. So I got all the fans off now. But okay, so anyway, that was that. And actually, that realization of like waking up and finally, I think actually when I got up, I was thinking about it like in terms of cars, okay. Like a 4-cylinder, a 6-cylinder, and an 8-cylinder. And then, now you have, it ain't no more like 8 cylinders, and pistons and compression and spark or fire and combustion. It ain't like that. It ain't a combustion system anymore. Now, it's an electrical system for electrical cars. And they don't operate on combustion, like gas combustion. And anyway, so when I woke up, it was like I was thinking about like these series of dreams and these dimensions. And I was like what I was thinking was like the 8th dimension. Okay, I'm just saying, I don't know. Look, sometimes when you dream stuff, like it's way out there. But okay, even Leonardo da Vinci, back in his day, he drew stuff. He like looked like helicopters and stuff like that. And there were no helicopters or nothing back in his day. Flying machines look like a helicopter. A lot of people did that. So anyway, but along with that, which I wanted to document today on August 6th at 5th hour in the morning, I'm also gonna read. Look, I got my. Look, this tooth right here. All right. I have that's a tooth. This is a root inside the in the gum, for canine, and then that's a tooth right there. And so this thing here, somebody put this in my drawer because I didn't pull that tooth out of the head of any of my dogs that got killed, and I buried them, and I burned one. I buried Smokey's head, but I burned his body after I did my autopsy on him to find out, how he was murdered. And Smokey, I had to pull her out of out of the sewage tank and my lift station barrel, and well, and Charlie, I buried him. I know he wasn't dug up, all right, but somebody, all right. I didn't take that tooth, and I found that tooth was put in my drawer. No, I said I'm gonna make a necklace out of it, because my buddy Tim, he got a boat, and he sent me a picture of him and some of his family, and I noticed that he's wearing a certain necklace. So I asked him about it, and he said it came from the treasure of a certain boat that capsized, and they, divers, took all the treasure and stuff. That necklace he had was one of the coins or something. I thought it was pretty cool. I asked him about it. He told me about it, but I don't think it was actually real. I think it was a replica of whatever they found. But anyway, like I'm thinking, I want to learn how to scuba dive, and someday, go out with him. He snorkels a lot. He told me he's going to learn how to scuba dive. And, but, that'd be pretty cool. But I was thinking, I'm going to turn that tooth right there into a necklace. So anyway, I just wanted to, I'm going to read you. So I met this girl, this lady who makes jewelry, and she could make it, she could put that thing, make that thing, turn that thing into a necklace. But I'm going to read you what I wrote to her, because she told me she'd do it, and I brought the tooth into where I met her, and she I left it there for her, but she never picked it up. And I sent her a message and everything. I didn't hear back from her. I just went back and got the tooth and just figured, well, I guess she's preoccupied or not so interested in that, But she made a lot of nice jewelry that I seen. And but when I wrote her, so finally, after a certain amount of time, she sent me, replied to my text message that I sent her, and a long time ago. A lot of space in between the time I sent her a text message. And it's funny for her to get back with me, but since she did, I thought, well, that's cool, okay, and pick it up where we left it off there. Anyway, I'm just going to read you what I wrote her, because it has to do with my regard, especially for my dogs. And so I'm just going to read you what I wrote her. Yeah. I have to read it without glasses. Okay, so she says, you're asking if I have, you're asking if, okay, I said, I'll just read you. I said, Ray, this is Thad, wanting to establish connection and ask if you are in receipt of my baby dog's tooth. And then after, considerable amount of time, she wrote me back finally. She said, you're asking if I have it? Question mark, question mark, question mark. I was never given the tooth. I was told you came by and picked it up from my coworker, which I did. But I don't know. It's a message that she got. I don't know. She must have got it later or something, because long history of time between my message and her reply. And then, then I said to her, I said, that was a long time ago, Ray. But look, that tooth was never lost to me. I would die before, I would die before that tooth would be lost to me. I'm not sure which of my dogs that tooth came from, but Charlie Maximus died for my sin. And the rest of them all gave their lives protecting mine. That tooth was put in my drawer, like the horse's head in the bed of that woman in The Godfather. No matter what evil, malice, or malevolent message I was meant to understand, the messenger's message has fallen on an empty grave, because all my dogs, all those, my valiant, unyielding beasts, or those physical, loyal, loving angels from the gods otherwise silent, and the cross this life forces us, each one, to bear. Well, I'm just saying, so you understand what that one solitary tooth means to me. So, I follow my own Pied Piper, and I believe in what can be understood as quote-unquote providence. And providence, let's see, where am I? And in that understanding, I have substantial regard, the understanding that accompanies such regard, and I believe I met you, seen your work, and I believe you know your work, and in my thinking, and in my persuasion, I am very thankful you wrote at last for such a time as this. You understand that tooth which I have in my possession is just as sacred and holy as the body of Jesus Christ to me. Let's meet at your convenience when you can educate me regarding your capabilities and offers, and I will eagerly look forward to wearing my dog baby's tooth around my neck all the way to the grave, in hope they all understand that I feel for them as they have felt for me. So you see, I especially wanted to document this because, stuff like this, a message like this, it'll be deleted, but this is August 6th. And I'm waking up from a series of dreams. And I got this on my mind. I wrote this yesterday. And, a couple other things, happened, which are strange to me. And so before I went to sleep last night, I was listening to, I think the guy's name was Edward Snowden, I was listening to him talk. And because he worked for, I forget what they call it. It's not NASA, but it's the agency that provides security. And he was like a whistleblower or something. He was talking about how your phone, look, like I had both my phones turned off, right? Not turned off, but locked. They lock automatically. They're just sitting. Okay. One phone calls the other phone. The other phone answers, and then records what was playing on my TV when I was sleeping. All right. And I got up, because I couldn't get to the phone in time. But that's when I realized that one of my phones called my other phone. And I was sleeping. And I had right before that happened, something. I don't know if the phone call came from this organization, or I think it came from this organization. And so I called the number back, and it came up with an automated message, and said something about like this is a ICS. What's your account number? And so we just waited for somebody to come. Somebody finally answered. And I said, "Look, who are you guys? And what are you calling me for?" And she said, "I could look her up. I could look them up on the internet." ICS, okay. Incident Command System. Okay, they did that. I didn't know how they could do that. Called up Apple, and I told Apple about it, and they said, "Well, you better just go ahead and contact your service provider and get a new SIM. That's like your fingerprint for your phone. Your SIM. They don't. Now it's an eSIM. It's not a physical thing. In phones, you used to have to put like a little tiny card in your phone after you got paid for it and everything. If you're not like using a burner phone, which like people that don't want to be tracked, or something like that, they'll use a burner phone. You just pay. You can pay cash, no trail. But look, I ain't got nothing to hide. No. The thing is, but yet on the other hand, look, I realize what was going on. All right, I'm not making this kind of stuff up in my head. Even now, for me, it seems like an impossibility. But the things that I've experienced in my life prove to me that one of my basic truths: things are never just as they appear. Which I learned that in seminary. All right, from a certain teacher I had. That's what he said. Nothing is just as it appears. All right, look, my whole life long. After I learned that statement, okay, I realized, okay, well, that statement right there is the header for a paragraph that's been being written all through my life. Things are never just as they appear. Well, my buddy Tim, he wrote me. He wrote me because I was bitching about Trump, man, because Trump made me angry. And he is making me angry. And sometimes, especially if I see people so stupid, they put up a sign, even have a sign, something about, like Trump for a third term or something. I think he's senile. I think he's getting senile, actually. He's on top of the White House roof the other day, like talking, like he personally is paying for everything, and he's boasting about how you don't even take his $60,000 a year salary or whatever like that, and how somebody's going to be giving him from another country like $600 million, and he can spend it however he wants. He's really. I think he's really getting really delusional, but it still, cater to him or whatever. But anyway, my buddy Tim, let me read you what he wrote me, and he says, okay, I heard that Trump's in the hospital with COVID, right? And so I mentioned that to him because seriously, I mean, it might sound like really bad, wishing this on somebody that they die, but Bob Dylan wrote that in Masters of War. I'm going to be happy, I won't be satisfied until I actually see you being put down into the dirt. Yeah, I feel the same way. But anyway, so my buddy Tim, he wrote me back, and he, dang it, and he said, I hope he dies of COVID. How totally fitting. The Epstein thing is now a complete cover-up. Photos, videos, fly logs, photo with young girls. The British removed Prince Edward from official duties over a year ago because of that. there has been so much oath breaking, it's impossible to start counting how many. It's become totally diabolical. Without severe punishment, this will become the norm. He says here, freedom is what is at stake here. Freedom isn't about white folks. It's about everyone inside the country. Hey, my buddy wrote me in reply, because I was thinking about putting up another sign, stating how I feel, about Trump. Well, anyway, and where that leaves me, like right now, is in the position where I'm waking up from a series of dreams, and I'm suspect of things. Oh, because in my YouTube, like I save stuff, like I save. I have favorites, like if I like something and I want to save it as a favorite, I can save it, and I can save it, and it says favorites, and I save it to my favorites. Well, you know what? Now, I ain't got any more folder called favorites. And so I was looking at my profile, my channel. Like I have my own channel on YouTube, which this is on, actually. All right. And I see there's another person who has my very name, which I have never met anybody face to face with, not even my name Thad, okay? Never met anybody with my name face to face. I went into a Lowe's or a Home Depot one time. There was a Thad up there on the wall, but he didn't have a last name Robbins, but his name was Thad, And on Facebook, when I was on it, I seen that there is another Thad, and there actually is even at least one other Thad Robbins, which I find phenomenal. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people, there's, like Mike Johnson, for example. He was a buddy of mine, and now in the news, they're talking about, Mike Johnson, who's like a senator or something like that. Not the same Mike Johnson that I knew. But certain names, duplicate common names, like last name Johnson is a very common name, so you're going to obviously get a few Mike Johnsons. And well, but and I see, there's, and so when I did do a search on, like, I'm trying to look for my favorites, I see the other person with the name Thad Robbins, and I see an Amanda Robbins, and when I do a search on my favorites, it comes up with this other stuff, like. And I know you can get your identity stolen and everything. And certain things have happened to me, like with my phones and stuff, that kind of remind me that nothing is just as it appears. And when I listen to Snowden talking about how, like, they can put up, like, you got cell towers, well, they can put up like a thing. I think it's called like Snake Viper or something like that, or something. It's got a name. It got a couple of names, but they can do it, and then that it makes your phone think that that's a cell tower, and your phone will always try to go to the cell tower, closest one or something, Well, it's intercepted, and then everything's on your phone. All right. Well, so I know by experience what can be done in technology. Look, the military has been studying mind control. A lot of people have been studying mind control all the way back from the day of Sun Tzu. All right? You control somebody's mind. Okay, it came out with I never actually seen them, but the Burn, about the Burn story or something. I don't know. The Manchurian Candidate or something like that. Okay. And I've seen stuff about mind control. I used to have this one guy coming over here visiting me. He's a homeless guy. But he had a place he could live and everything. But I don't know. He's considered homeless, but he really wasn't homeless. But he was living under the graces of, I don't know. Something. I never seen his place. All right, he could have been just a faker, man. He's telling me that he had monitors in his brain from the military, 2 of them, on 12-hour shifts, and they could speak to him. I asked him, "Are you schizophrenic?" He said, "No, I'm not schizophrenic." Anyway, I'm at 35 minutes. I told him I was going to put him on a lie detector, because you can buy them now, you know. I never actually bought one, but I just told him I did. And next time he came over, you know, because like I don't deal in bullshit, you know. I don't deal with people that are full of bullshit, you know, trying to con you or something. But look, he showed me on the internet, you know, videos about mind control and what the military stuff and everything they can do now, and it's legit. You can, like, when I did one of the videos, Life Has Unfolded or something, unfolded for me. I said, you look anything up on YouTube. That's fact, all right. But I don't know where it's all going. I don't even know what my dreams are saying to me. I don't even know if this is just one dimension of consciousness, but there's other ones. It seems like that's the case to me. But can't be proven or nothing, you know. Yeah, I only got these eyes to see with, just like you. And until a day comes when I can see in a different dimension, I mean, I'm satisfied with the dimension I got, and I'll do my best. But you know, I just want to document this because I think this is noteworthy for me and for my journal. And look, this is year 2025, August 6th, going on 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna make this journal a follow-up to my journal. All right, bye.